You're listening to the Silver Stoner Show.
Hey, dudes and dudettes, trans dudes, trans dudettes, stoners everywhere of every persuasion, flavor, color, religion, gender, whatever you want to identify yourselves as, welcome. It is I, Uncle Herb. This is the Silver Stoner and another episode. Joining me, as always, is the Bee Woman. Yo, Bee Woman.
Hello.
Hello. You said that so much better than me. All right. Now, today, we'll put up the 5 tenets as we always do, just to quickly remind those of you joining us for the first time. Being a Silver Stoner doesn't mean laying on the couch with your eyes rolled back in your head, although I did spend the entire weekend that way. That's how I spent my Father Day. Father Day? That's how I spent my Father Day. That's how I spent my Father's Day.
Try it again.
Wiped out eating chimichangas. Those of you who don't know what a chimichanga is, you really need to come to the Southwest. You know, Mexican food served anywhere else in the country but near the Mexican border sucks. I'm just telling you. Just sharing with you. You think I know those of you in Minneapolis? Jesus Christ.
You're terrible.
It's just one of those days. Those of you in Minneapolis, beautiful city, been there, done that, got the T-shirt many times. You think you eat Mexican food? No, you don't. Just saying. All right. Let's move along. Get right to the news and discussion. I skipped over. Anyway, to be a stoner is to subscribe to the 5 tenets. Okay, let's move on. All right. So, the article that we're going to talk about today, which is from Insider.com, about marijuana's effects, is not particularly unusual. I've seen a million of these articles. You know, it's like so many magazines and publications just recycle the same old shit over and over and over again, right? I mean, they just do. Like if you read an issue of Vogue today and you pick up another issue, you know, you're in a doctor's office that, you know, and you pick up some old issue of Vogue because it's sitting next to you. And then you go to the same doctor's office 10 years later and there's a different issue of Vogue. It's the same stories, you know, how to make your man happy, how to this, how to that. You know, it's the same shit. So they're running a lot of, because weed is getting legal and it's now legal in 31 states and 18 medically and blah, 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 and more coming on all the time. Obviously, there are a lot of these articles popping up. Is it good for you? And there are a lot of people who really don't know. So we're going to go through what these are 14 things that this article says marijuana may cause. This is also one of those wishy-washy bullshit articles. It may do this and it may do that.
It was very back and forth.
Here's the bottom line. Before we even get into this, the reason that no one really knows what pot does scientifically is because when you make something a type 1 narcotic, Richard Nixon, you rotten guy, and start the war on drugs and call marijuana essentially the equivalent of heroin, which it is not, then no one can study it because it's so illegal. The labs can't get hold of it. So everything now is just the studies that are just coming. There's going to be thousands more. And we're going to learn a lot more about weed and CBD and THC and cannabinoids and everything and terpenes. By the way, this morning I was watching Joe Rogan, who I much admire, and he had on, I was watching an old one that he had on Dan Aykroyd, and Dan Aykroyd can't smoke weed because he's allergic to terpenes, which I had never heard of anyone being allergic to terpenes before.
I didn't know you could be.
I didn't know that either. It just makes him weird. So he just does psilocybin. God bless him. I love Dan Aykroyd. Anyway, that's another story. All right. Let's get into this article. So the first thing that this article says weed causes is red eyes. I mean, to me, that's like... Yeah,
I've never had red eyes.
Yeah, but the other day when you and I were getting, you know, lubricated for the Too High for YouTube content, I had red eyes but how long did they last?
Not long.
Yeah, you know, stoner eyes, it just depends on the person, guys. So if you guys are weed, let's pretend that everyone watching is either uninformed about weed or laboring under false assumptions. Okay, so if you're afraid of getting red eyes, you might. I'm not sure why that's a bad thing.
Get yourself some eye drops. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Personally, my daughter Chloe gets weed eyes, and I think they're cute, but that's just me. I'm her daddy. All right. Next. Eases pain is a maybe.
Why? Why a maybe?
Well, according to the current research, it says that potentially, and they don't really see. This is why no one studied this shit. It's all word of mouth at this point, basically. But they say that perhaps THC binds with your pain receptors. I noticed that my pain, you know, being an old fucker, I have, in addition to my titanium left shoulder, I have arthritis in my neck, and it's pretty serious. And growing old is not for pussies. I'm just telling you. It just, you know, what happens is evolution's through with me, right? I mean, it's like I've had my children, so it's like, fuck you. And so everything starts falling apart as you get older. So, yes, it does ease pain. But I'm not sure if it's because I'm too high to notice the pain or if it really is. I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
Have you ever smoked CBD weed, like where they take the THC out of it?
No. And I have. It's funny you should say that because I've got a bunch of freebie samples, and they're so boring to me in concept that I haven't tried it, but I should.
You should. I love CBD weed for specifically taking away body pain.
Really?
And it can also really like calm you down and like just level your mind to like peaceful.
Are you sure it's not psychosomatic that you believe it's going to? I'm just asking this. I'm not saying this to be an asshole. I think placebo effect is very real. I think if you don't believe a medicine is going to work, it makes it half as effective as if you do, even when it's really powerful medicine. It's important.
Yeah, your state of mind helps.
So, I mean, I don't know about the CBD thing. So, do you really? I'm going to have to. I'm ignorant. Because I haven't tried it. But
I use CBD bath bombs and CBD lotion for like pain in my neck and back because I'm tall and we just have pain in our back.
Well, we do, but I don't know if my neck pain came from. I don't really have back pain. I've lucked out of that one.
Lucky.
Well,
but,
so far.
Yeah. I don't know. CBD works with me.
We're going to say that's a maybe. Probably. Almost certainly.
Probably.
Well,
I'll take it.
I mean, the CBD thing, I'm going to say, okay, if you say so. I mean,
it can help with anxiety, too. Like, if you smoke too much weed and you do get anxiety from it.
I've tried it for. But I just used this product that's made by this local guy here in Arizona. I tried it. I had a bottle of, I get these free samples when we go to it works.
But you said probably.
Well, probably reduces. Here's the thing. I believe in science, understanding that science is a process of proving itself wrong. This is where when people say the science says, science is a constant process. A true scientist lives to prove him or herself wrong every day, right? So, but current science says probably. So we'll see. Again, we would know for sure if they hadn't made it a Schedule I substance in 1971. I mean, it just...
Are the people doing the research for marijuana?
I don't know. But see, that shouldn't matter. You should go into it. There have been a lot of famous cases of people that went into studies who wanted them to go one way, went another way, published their results, and were hated for it. The one that comes to mind, was it Moore? M-O-O-R-E? He did a study where he tried to prove that all human beings of every race are exactly the same. But his study proved exactly the opposite. And it turns out that depending on what part of the world you came from, you have superior abilities to one race or another based on where you lived. Like, why do Asian people, the highest IQs in the world, let me share this with you, are I'm sad to admit this, I always thought it was Jews, but it's not, it's Asians. Okay, as a group, Asians have why? Because the weather's horrible in Asia and there's nothing else to do. I mean, why? No, it is. Why do Asians have hooded eyes? It's genetics to protect their eyes from the wind that's constantly blowing on the Asian steppes. That's where it comes from. Why are black people and brown people blacker and browner than white people? Because they live in sunnier climates, and if they didn't, they'd all die of skin cancer. I mean, it's not like a mystery, but you develop other things. Like, look at the National Basketball Association and tell me that black people are not superior athletically to white people. I mean, I know that might not be politically correct, but it's true. There are exceptions. I mean, there are great white basketball players, and just like there are shitty black basketball. But as a group, black people are superior genetically, athletically to white people. They just are. Is that bad? But that poor guy published all that, and he just took terrible shit. So the point of the story is you can't go into a study I don't know the answer to your question, really.
I just always feel like they aren't. And that's why the studies always go so back and forth.
Or is that because they don't go the way you want them to go, which is human nature?
Not necessarily. I just think none of them make...
See, to me, I don't expect pot to have all good things. To me, it's like crossing the street, right? If you understand where the cars are coming from, you look both ways, then cross the fucking street. Mm-hmm. In other words, I've never tried heroin, but if it were legal, I would try it. I'll be honest with you, I would try it. I would try it in a controlled situation. I would smoke it. I would smoke opium. I definitely wouldn't mainline it, but I'd try it if it were legal, because I don't want to go back to becoming a guest of the state. You know, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Don't want to do it twice, but I would try it.
I don't think I would.
I don't think it could. I mean, what could? You're not addictive by nature, are you?
No, I don't think so.
So why not try it? You know, here's an unknown. This is actually this is written by Graham Chapman, I think it is. He's a professor at NYU who wrote a book on using heroin recreationally, which he has done for years. He's done it for decades. He believes it makes his marriage better and his relationship with his children better and everything else. He's a very interesting guy. But he says, and he has some studies to back this up, so I'm just quoting him, but he says 80% of people that use heroin are not addicted to it.
Isn't it the most addictive besides fentanyl?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean it addicts everybody. See, that's one of those really tricky words. Is most the same as all? In other words, over the years, I've tried things that I were told. I tried things that I were told that I was told that were highly addictive, and that I've used all kinds of hallucinogenics, but they're not really addictive. Let me just think of things I've tried. I've done Quaaludes, I've done speed, I've done opiates of various kinds. It's pain. It's like
I'm a baby. I've tried Molly.
Molly's wonderful.
Yes.
Anyway, this is not the Molly show. All right,
No.
Let's move on. Let's not talk about Molly. All right, next on the list, stimulates appetite. Yeah, sure as shit.
Yes.
Yeah, sure as shit. 100%. So, I mean, I already shared this, so I'm just going to share with you guys watching. Yesterday was Father's Day. My children are all adults. They all called and wished me, yada, yada, but they all basically sent me money to go eat with. I then shoved a queso fundido chimichanga down my throat, along with frijoles and rice, arroz. And then I went on to eat an entire pint of Ben & Jerry's salted caramel ice cream. And I was doing bowl after bowl after bowl. From the time I love flour, I bought a half ounce, and I have smoked half of it. And I absolutely fumigated myself and my dog were hungry and munching all weekend. I ate Culver's Butterburger, onion rings, and a cement mixer made out of frozen custard with Heath Bar too. Let's not leave that out. It stimulates the shit out of them. I'm amazed I don't weigh 6,000 pounds.
I just went into the store and bought a bunch of fruit and made a bunch of smoothies over the weekend.
Bought a bunch of fruit too. By the way, the peaches and nectarines are out of this world.
Yes.
If you have a Sprouts near you, which is like a farmer's market, it's terrific. Anyway, we are not sponsored by Sprouts. Okay, here's another one. Induces euphoria. I don't know that I agree with that. Do you feel euphoric on weed?
Sometimes.
Do you? Okay.
Not to where I would agree with that, though.
Yeah, I don't really experience euphoria. I experience chill, which is not the same thing for me.
Yeah.
I get euphoria on like DMT or LSD or psilocybin or things like that. By the way, what did I read the other day? They're making mushroom that you can put onto sandwiches and things. Anyway, this just sounds great to me.
That's
I don't know that weed is primarily, those of you who, I'd be interested in your comments on this. I don't think that weed is necessarily euphoric, but then again, I haven't done the studies, maybe. Maybe
if you're already like heading there in your mind.
Well, that brings me to the next one, though, and how can you have one with the other? Induces anxiety. Now, I've known lots of people that claim that they get anxious on weed. I have not experienced it.
I know a ton of people that don't smoke weed because of anxiety. Like it causes it.
I think that the anxiety that people claim that they experience from weed is from being filled full of bullshit for the last 5 decades or 6 decades or however long it's been, and believing a lot of this shit. And so they get, and worst of all, the idea that they're going to get hauled away and put in prison. I think there's just a lot of, I don't think that weed makes you, I don't know. I mean,
I agree with you.
Or maybe if you use too much of it, maybe, but I use shit tons of it till it just puts me out. If I use too much of it, like yesterday, I was watching a very good movie. Did you ever watch those, like Darren Van Dam, Hidden Gems on YouTube? Those videos? Mm-hmm. Okay, again, I have no relationship with Darren Van Dam, but I think he puts on a nice YouTube video. So he had one called The Limey, made in 1999 on HBO, starring Terrence Stamp. Anyway, it was great. It was about a English guy who comes to revenge the death of his daughter at the hands of some guy. And very formulaic movie, but done really, really, really well. Except that I missed at least half of it because I had smoked so much weed I fell asleep. And then but it was one of those movies where you could fall asleep and come back to it. It was great. It's like watching it was like British Dirty Harry, right? You can watch Dirty Harry and fall asleep and come right back, and you know right where you are. He's going to kill somebody else. It's right.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was great. But I don't know. Now, here's the next one. Impairs judgment.
No.
Do you feel that weed impairs judgment?
No, not at all, actually.
Yeah, I don't think it. I think that verb impairs is the wrong verb.
No, because remember how we were just talking about that guy who did the study about how people drive better high?
Yeah, they drive better high. Yeah, it's true. People drive better high. And they don't speed.
And I don't feel my judgment's ever been impaired by weed, like at any point in time. And I've been around family members who didn't know I was high and couldn't tell.
Well, you're a serious stoner. You're not my only friend who really doesn't seem to be affected by weed. I mean, my friend Aaron, who works. Who did Aaron work for? Tierra Grow.
Tierra,
yeah. Aaron, who works for Tierra Grow. Aaron, Jesus Christ, he's
a machine.
Puts him down. What's that?
He's a machine.
A machine.
Yeah.
The guy.
He gets high, and
so are the guys from Coughing Canary.
I plan to get high on my birthday. Okay.
Well, and we're going to celebrate right here. It's going to be this coming Friday is the Bee Woman's birthday, and we'll be celebrating right here on the Silver Stoner.
But that's how I spent last year's birthday. I just got high.
Well, and did it impair your? By the way,
no.
In fairness, I'm not saying devil's advocate. I don't feel it impairs my judgment for routine things, but I sure as shit, if I were a brain surgeon, would not do surgery, high. Okay, so to that extent, there are things I would not do stoned.
There's a lot of things I wouldn't do stoned.
I'm a pilot. I wouldn't fly my airplane stoned.
Nope.
And the higher you go, the more these kind of things tend to affect you. So when you're up, flying, even if you adjust cabin altitude in a pressurized airplane to 8,500 feet, you're still going to be a little loopier than you would be at sea level.
Maybe it slows my thinking process down. So maybe it does, in a way, impair my judgment.
I'd love something to slow my thinking process down. God damn it. But anyway. All right. Here's one that's interesting that I did not know. I know it lowered my blood pressure, but evidently your heart rate increases as a result. That's just a scientific fact, evidently.
Isn't that just from smoking? No?
I don't know. It constricts your blood vessels. Personally, I am hypertensive, so I like the fact that it lowers my blood pressure. And my heart rate is low anyway because I'm big, but I'm fit aerobically. I swim and walk and stuff and play tennis. So when my arm isn't destroyed. But anyway, to make a long story short, I don't know. That seems a big deal. To me, that's like, okay. Maybe if you were, suffered from atrial fibrillation or something, that'd be something to worry about, but I don't. So it's kind of like, if I were 85 plus and had that, I would be worried about COVID, but I'm not and I don't. Mm-hmm. Okay, so may increase depression risk and anxiety. This is like they're retreading the same shit. Conflicting studies say it could be true or not.
I don't know about the depression.
See, I'd have to, studies, you got to do studies really careful. And
yeah.
If you take people into a study that are already depressed, and then you feed them full of weed, and do they carefully screen, and do they even know what they're screening? Psychology to me is a science that's really an art. In other words, I have nothing but respect for psychology. I don't have a lot of respect for psychologists, only because in the wrong hands, psychology can be a weapon.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Right? So the study of psychology, I think, is really interesting, but I've known too many psychologists who bring their crazy shit to the table. Like, I'll give you a really good example that I have never experienced, but I've read about it. Repressed memories. Okay? Now, the children who went to the gas chambers in the Holocaust and saw their parents gassed remembered every fucking detail. There is no such thing as a repressed memory. That's been well documented by zillions of studies. Okay? There are people that really believe they remember things, but they don't. That's a fact. And families have been but psychologists, to this day, there are psychologists that can talk, particularly women, I don't know why this is, into believing their fathers fucked them, for example. And it never happened.
I do know that they have like psychologically proven that if you can tell yourself a lie and actually believe it.
Yes, but you still really know underneath it all. Your memory, you are suppressing, it is not repressed. In other words, you know it's there. There are things that have happened to all of us in our life, okay, and certainly to me. Well, to be honest with you, I was abused terribly growing up by my stepfather. I remember every fucking detail. No one has to, I mean, do I suppress that memory? Sure, I don't want to think about it every day. I absolutely suppress that memory. I rarely think about it. I'm thinking about it now because this came up in conversation. The last time I thought about it, it's been forever, right? That's suppressed, not repressed. Okay, but if you said to me, are you a survivor of incest? Yeah, I am. Okay, I remember it graphically. There's no such thing. Okay, that's when psychology can be a weapon. It can destroy families and individuals in the wrong hands, right? And that's where I think these studies come from. This is to your earlier point, like how are they doing the studies? Are these people going into it with a negative feeling? I don't see how weed is a I hate to use the word depressant. It definitely slows you down. So I suppose if you're depressed, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about
I wouldn't recommend it to use it with your depression. Like if you have serious depression, like I wouldn't use marijuana to try and maybe help with that depression. It's probably going to make it worse.
Yeah, I would probably, if I were going to research substances, there's a lot of work being done with psilocybin where it seems to be great for depression. I don't think that's,
microdosing.
Yeah.
I think I read that one.
Yeah, well, I've heard that if you do a session of mushrooms, I've not just heard, I've read it. It's been well done. Actually, the VA is actually doing it. To tell you how widespread this has become, for post-traumatic stress disorder, for guys who, and when I say guys, again, just for the record, that's a generic term with me. For the guys that have come back with post-traumatic stress from war, they've had phenomenal results, and they're using it in the Veterans Administration. They do a session, very safe, very quiet. You're on the sofa, there are people with you, yada, yada. They guide you through the experience, what you're experiencing, and they come out of it after one session with more positive results than years of therapy.
Okay. I've heard of that, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too. I think all drugs should be legal, but that's just me. All right. May increase heart risk, or then again, it may not. To me, it's like that's one of those things where they don't. Why would it increase your heart risk? Because it lowers your blood pressure, but increases your heart rate. But I guess it could.
Again, they might be talking about smoking, because I know that if you have heart issues, you shouldn't smoke like literally anything.
I don't know. I've read studies with weed that says cigarette smokers who smoke weed get a prophylactic, which is the fancy word for preventive. Everyone thinks prophylactic means a rubber. No, it means preventive. You get a prophylactic effect from weed when you smoke cigarettes. It protects your lungs from the ill effects of the tar from cigarettes, even though weed itself is very tarry. God knows, because I was doing just got my regular reorder from Amazon on Formula 420, which works great. So does Epsom salt and alcohol for that matter, but I'm too lazy to mix that shit together.
I found this stuff at a little smoke shop that I've been using ever since because it works better than any cleaner I've ever used.
You have to turn me on to it. I haven't tried. What's it called?
It's just called Pink Cleaner.
Pink Cleaner. Huh. I'll try it.
I'll get you some.
Yeah. I'd like to try some of that because 420 works fine. It's just a big mess.
Well, I dab, so I know with the good cleaner.
Dabbing that stuff is so, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't. Nothing gets it off. I mean, it's.
Actually, I have a secret about
What's that?
Getting res off of literally any material.
Okay,
I'm going to
share
share it, but it's a secret. Like I came up with it. I discovered it years ago.
Share it.
Dryer sheets. You rub dryer sheets on anything that you've got stained res on, it will remove it. Counters, sinks.
You heard it here first. Dryer
shirts,
sheets, whip out the bounce,
hands.
rub off. I'm going to try it because when I get res on my, sorry. I was given a sample of the kind of res, like the syringe res that you put on top of your weed. Even to get that to cut on top is a pain in the ass. And then you get it all over yourself. And someone has to come up with a better way of dispensing that product, I think. I mean, I understand the idea behind the syringe. It's a good idea.
I don't like the syringes.
Well, how do you get that's the problem, is getting the res off the syringe and onto the weed and not make it into just a giant gooey
mess.
I would say if you've never tried it, it's like playing with honey, but at least honey you can lick off. This shit just gets all over everything. It's a horrible mess.
Dryer sheets.
Dryer sheets.
I'm telling you.
That was worth.
Is that a new dryer sheet or a used dryer sheet?
Don't use a used one. Like, it's a brand new. Like, I always just get one right out of the
When
box.
you get res all over yourself, the last thing you're worried about is the cost of one bounce dryer sheet.
Well, sometimes I get res in the sink when I clean my bong,
Yeah.
and it'll get stained, and I'll just use
See,
the
my
dryer
stainless
sheet
steel sink, it
wiper.
just comes right off. See, I don't have a problem with that.
But it comes off your fingers. It comes off your pants.
Oh, yeah, it's all over everything. Your pants.
Yeah, I've gotten
'Cause you're
res on my
rubbing your-
pants,
you're
and then I
rubbing your
used the
hands.
dryer sheet, and it came right off. Jeans. Don't know about any other material.
All right. Well, then, you test the small area. You know how that goes. It's like when you use carpet cleaner. You test an area before you make sure it's not going to wipe the color out of it.
I've been doing it for years. I tell all my friends, I'm like, dryer sheet, it'll get it out. I promise.
It's funny. It's funny because I tried the traditional cure for a stain is club soda, right? If you get a stain on anything like a shirt or anything, one of the greatest ways to get it out is just keep pouring club soda on it, and it with some gentle blotting. I tried that with res.
And for blood, it's peroxide.
If you
Peroxide
want-
works on blood?
You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
works even better on blood?
No.
Coca-Cola. It's what they use to clean up blood on in accidents, so like on the road and stuff. And I've tested it. It works. Like,
Well, I
on
know the reason that
concrete.
carbonation works is because of the
Crazy.
carbonic acid. That's the reason that club soda works is the carbonation creates carbonic acid, which is what takes the stain out. And carbonic acid is so mild that it doesn't damage anything else. And I'm sure Coca-Cola is full of that, but it must have something else in it too. I don't know what it would be. See, to me,
Ice cubes, yeah, okay. Just funny.
ice cubes.
No.
I'll tell you what ice cubes work great on.
Gum.
Yeah, they do work great on gum, and they also work on gum in the hair. But you know what else works on gum in the hair is peanut butter.
No, that's a myth.
No, it's not. It's not a myth. I've taken it out with peanut butter on my kids.
Well, I've tried it in my own hair when I was a kid, and it's a myth. Like,
Well,
if you get it in
I got it out of there with
really
peanut butter.
stuck in there.
Well, yeah, you must have been a real pleasure as a child. That's all I can say.
No, someone did it to me. I didn't do that to myself.
This does segue, though, to the next one. I must bring this on. Causes memory loss, which your parents probably wish they suffered from. No, I'm just teasing. That was mean. Okay, so causing memory loss. Okay, definitely.
Yeah, I had to agree with that one.
Okay, I forget shit constantly, as you guys already know. I mean, I forget where I am in conversation all the time. But see, to me, again, that's like that crossing the street thing. You remember what you eventually remember it and like, okay, that's the price we pay for happiness. All right.
Hey, I'm chilling. Like, I already naturally forget things because I'm a natural blonde. I go into the kitchen and forget why I was in there all the time.
I do it all the time, and I'm not in that. I'm, obviously not. Although, so check out my eyebrows. So I learned this from my eyebrows are going gray too, but you notice how they're like dirty blonde sort of in there? That's my real hair color. I learned that your eyebrows are the last thing to go gray. And that's how when they color your hair, a good hairstylist will look at your eyebrows to match the color.
I thought it was chest hair that was the last one.
White. Got news for you.
He's got news.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. I got chest hair. It's white. Okay. Yes, you've heard of Sasquatch. I am Jew Squatch. Just saying. Okay. I'll tell you a true story. So, and I'm not taking off my shirt to prove this, but
Thank you.
yeah, believe me, you've been spared. And interestingly, as I've gotten older, this is less than somehow it's less than it used to be. But
Does
I
this
used
have to do with memory?
This has to do with it was my second marriage's stag party. We went to a strip club, as you can imagine. And of course, what they do at strip clubs during your stag is they bring you up on the stage, and the strippers put you in a chair, and they dance around you, and they and they take off your shirt. So the girl, I'll never forget, was the most. It scarred me for life. She takes off my shirt, and this is what the stripper says: "Jesus Christ." Okay, so there you go. Yeah, pretty furry.
She reacted.
Yeah, that did not amuse me. Let's just say I didn't tip that girl. Just saying. Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah, Jesus Christ. Can't spell, never mind. All right, moving right along. May damage lungs, or then again, other studies show no effect. Now, I do want to make this note, and I wrote this, I printed this so that we would not get this wrong. The use of vape pens or dabbing may also cause respiratory problems like vaping-induced acute lung injury, but more research is needed. Okay, speaking for you guys, this is a perfect moment to mention our private community, because in our private community, which you can join for $4.20 a month, and oh, by the way, we are giving away a PS5 as part of this promotion, yada, yada, yada. Check it all out. Click the link below. It's wonderful. But as part of that membership, which you get 14 days for free just for checking it out, and an entry to win the PS5, regardless of whether or not you choose to pay the $420, but why wouldn't you? Because what's $420? There's the part of it is the content 2i for YouTube, where I do, in fact, take a man-sized hit of, what was that?
Oh, yes, you did.
What was that shit? It was shatter. And I'm telling you right now, my lungs were fucking damaged.
I missed out.
Well, you'll have to just watch the content. You certainly may. I think vaping, yeah, I can feel vaping in my lungs, especially if you use shitty, cheap vape.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some vapes are better than, they just are. Some brands I found are better than others. I don't want to endorse any brand or anything like that, but I have noticed a conspicuous difference in the quality of vape.
I prefer to not vape.
I prefer flower, but you can't.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting in, the restaurant, I can't, or the movie theater, I really
Can't.
used to love the hot box in the car before the movie.
Have you ever tried the vape they made for weed where it like extracts the THC? It's like dry vaping. Have you ever tried that?
I've tried it.
It doesn't get me high at all.
It doesn't work worth a shit.
No.
I don't think it's, to me, that's like the Model T of vaping.
They wasted that and it's like wasting your weed, basically.
Never waste your weed, my friends. Never waste your weed. Just saying. I'm drinking so much today because it's so fucking dry and hot here. If you've ever been to Phoenix in the summer, you can experience what it is to truly know what a nuclear explosion feels like. Okay.
Stepping out into an oven.
Oh, my God. If you really want to experience Phoenix and you're from a nice place like, Brainerd, Minnesota or something, do yourself, just go home right now, or if you're home, just turn on your oven to its highest possible setting, open the door and stick your head in it.
You don't even have to stick your head all the way in.
We do not recommend that you do that at all.
Don't really do that. That was a joke, and I'm assuming everyone's over 21 here. That was not me telling you to do that.
He's telling you to stick your head in an oven.
I would never tell you to do that. Well, certain people I might. Okay. This one was interesting to me. And I think it's actually true, may cause weight loss. Some studies show that cannabinoids increase the efficiency of sugar digestion and make the body more efficient because, now here's, again, I want to preface this. My education is not scientific. I really don't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I'm just repeating what I've read, okay? So do your own research and do it yourself. Okay, so here's the thing. I think for sure, cannabinoids are in your body. Theoretically, they bind with your body, which is more efficient for sugar. I just know that I eat a ton of shit and don't gain weight on days that I do it because I'm so fucking high. I swear to God, I think that, and I weigh myself every day, and I just think that cannabinoids protect me. I'm a big man to begin with, but the reason I don't weigh 800 pounds is I think this.
I know a lot of people that when they mix the marijuana with their workout regimen, like they lose more weight. Like it's better for them. Like they'll work out and then they'll smoke either before or after, and it helps.
I swim.
them.
I've just started swimming again since my shoulder has been replaced, and I swim high. I don't know that it. I just find I go longer. I'm not sure.
That's why.
Is that why? Well, it's probably why. Yeah. Well, that would make me control my weight, but I'm just saying that just smoking pot itself, according to some of these studies, again, some studies. Why? It was illegal. But it looks like it helps.
It could be a reason it's a reason why they give you your med card, your medical card for marijuana.
For obesity?
No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Obesity is a reason for a med card? I did not know that.
Like to help you lose weight and stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah, and people can also get it if they don't have an appetite. Like you can get your med card for that too.
You can get your med card for anything, my friends.
Yeah, if you can come up with
something. The truth is you
something.
can walk into the doctor's office. Let's just say the doctor giving you your med card likely did not go to Johns Hopkins or Harvard. Just throwing it out there.
There are some doctors that will recommend you going to a doctor, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And those are like real medical doctors.
Well, the guy who wrote me my prescription was a real medical doctor. But you know what they call the guy who comes, is last in his class in medical school?
What?
Doctor. I mean, there's absolutely...
Okay.
That reminds me of a bad racist joke.
Move on.
Oh, no, I got to tell the joke. What do you call a black guy flying a plane? Pilot, you racist motherfucker. That is an old joke that white that I used to like tell my racist friends. What do you call a black guy flying a plane? I don't know. What? Pilot, you racist motherfucker. Well, I mean, what else would you call him? But if a person has to think about it, what does that say? Just saying. All right. Throwing it out there. Now I'm sucking it back in. Shall we move along?
Yes.
Impairs development of the brain. This is, by the way, in children. But then again, maybe not. First of all, as much as I'm a stoner and as much as my kids smoke, they didn't start smoking, as far as I know, until their teenage years, when they're all brilliant. I don't think it really retarded them. But having said that, I don't know. I mean, I definitely know people that are stoners, but I think they were wipeouts before they started. I
think that if your brain isn't maybe fully developed yet and you choose to partake in marijuana, depending on how much, it can.
Yeah, I wouldn't give it to children.
Affect your development.
I just wouldn't.
No, not unless they give CBD to children with like seizures and cancer.
Well, that's that Lorenzo's oil thing. That's like a miracle thing.
Yes.
I'm not talking about CBD. CBD, I think, is. Well, let me preface this. I'm not qualified to make this statement, but as far as I know, it's harmless to children and dogs. Having said that, I really don't know. And that's the problem. They didn't allow these studies, and we're just really guessing. At this point, you've just kind of, make a decision on your own. Risk, reward, everything in life's a trade-off. Mm-hmm. Last here is increases the risk of addiction.
Used to call it a gateway drug.
Yeah, see, that's been discredited over and over and over and over. When I do weed, I don't sit there and think to myself, boy, I could really use some heroin now. And, and that, I always love that TV, what's the word I'm looking for? Caricature of a drug dealer. The guy that hangs around the school.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something, guys. I went to school like you did. How many times did you walk out in the schoolyard and find some evil-looking guy that looks like Gargamel from the Smurfs trying to sell drugs to you at the edge of the schoolyard?
Probably
Come
never.
over, children. Gargamel has really nice drugs for you. I mean, this is the bullshit.
It's propaganda.
It's propaganda. I know a lot of drugs. Knew a lot of drug dealers. Both in and out of prison, and I'm going to share this with you. They don't go after children.
No, they don't.
That is a fucking myth.
They stay the fuck
away. It is. I knew hardcore gangsters of every race and I'm telling you, they don't go after children. Now, do children grow into these situations because children do become adults and then find it on their own through bad family and and no parents and whatever? It's such a complicated question. Why do people do what they do?
And every family has a drug dealer.
Right.
Period.
Has a drug what?
A drug dealer.
Oh yeah, every family has a drug
Every
dealer.
family has one.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's prescription.
Well, my mother was a prescription drug addict, and you know where she got them? From the pharmacist my stepfather played poker with.
I know. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah. By the way, I turned him into the pharmacy board. I was a prick. I got that motherfucker. Of course, I took a horrible beating for it. I took a horrible beating. But, sometimes in life you have to take a beating. I don't know. I think that's an invaluable life lesson. I knew I was going to take a beating for doing it, and I figured it was worth it to get my mother. It didn't work. She got right back on the drugs. But I took the beating. My stepfather just beat the living shit out of me. But I didn't care.
I wouldn't care either.
Yeah, we raise our kids to be such little butterflies. When I say things like I took a beating, and I mean a beating, I'm not talking about a slap across the rear end or the face. I took a beating. Mm-hmm. But, you curl up, you take the beating.
Never taken a beating.
Well, I took a beating till I was 14 when I took a baseball bat to that fucker. And then I went to live with my parents, my aunt and uncle in Florida. But that's another story for another day. When I was 14, I had enough of that bullshit. Okay, just throwing it out there. Okay, for those of you children being abused, you can get him when he's sleeping. Just saying. Just saying. I'm deadly.
We do not endorse violence.
I'm not endorsing violence, but I think people who hit children should get what they get. And women.
I fully agree with you.
People who hit children or women get what they get. And if that means they get beaten in their sleep, I don't think they should go to prison. I think they should get a fucking medal. And oh, by the way, in prison, the people that beat women and children, they're segregated from the general population. And if they put them in the general population, they'd be doing everyone a public service because
Yep.
they'd be aced within minutes.
Yep, especially if they find out they were like children molesters.
Child molesters, let me tell you, they'd be killed within 30 seconds
Yep.
of coming on the yard.
Because most people in prison have children.
Most people and children have been molested. I'm just telling you, I was there. I know. Incest, and then we're going to get off of this right now, is the great untold horror story of our culture. And I'm going to leave it at that. It's an ugly, we all know it. A lot of you watching know it. It never gets reported because everybody, it's I think a combination of it's happened to so many people they don't want to talk about it. They suppress it. And that's how they cope. And you know what? If you're coping with it successfully, then who am I to tell you how to cope with it? Okay? I mean, anyway, let's get off of that. You know what? I want to end on a happy note, and we're going to end on a happy note today. And I'm just going to tell you, listen, guys, all this stuff we went through today, no one knows. You know, like enjoy your weed, smoke it, light it up, have a good day. You know, everything in moderation. That's what it really comes right down to. Everything in moderation. And even though I'm a stoner, like today, I'm not at this very moment stoned because I'm taking a break after the weekend. You know, just because you love something doesn't mean you're obligated to shove it down, 24 hours a day. There are days, like when I go fishing on the lake with my dog, I want to have my senses very acute. I don't smoke. It's just like everything else in life. You find a balance and then you live with it. And you enhance and improve your life. Anyway, that's it for today. Bee Woman?
Stay chillin'.
And from me, peace out.
You're listening to the Silver Stoner Show.